What's up everyone, back here with another topic video. Blizzard has announced Starcraft Remastered, which is basically going to be the original game, but with better textures up to 4K support. It's going to have new matchmaking features. However, none of the game is actually going to change. All the gameplay elements Blizzard has mentioned is going to stay the same, because what would be the point of upgrading your game if it's not the same game? It's actually a really interesting thing, and I think this is really cool, because I like to see old games getting remastered. I'm playing Disgaea in the background, which is the PC release, which is essentially the sort of upgraded version of it, and it's actually like the best version of the game as well, and I really love to see a lot of older games get these updates. Now, Blizzard has mentioned basically they're not going to be changing the gameplay at all, so if you're worried about them changing balances and everything like that, don't worry. They said they're not doing that. Basically, what they're doing is they're going to be redoing all the textures and stuff like that, so all the character models and stuff like that are going to look a lot better, so they're a lot clearer on modern screens, and they said they're going to have up to 4K support, and they're going to have the cutscenes up to 1080, and so basically if you're looking for that sort of experience, there you go. But I'm just excited to be able to replay the game, and my actual sort of biggest sort of excitement for this, because it's been years since I played StarCraft. It's been a really freaking long time, and I don't even remember how to play StarCraft. It's been so long. The cool part about this is they're actually doing some matchmaking stuff as well, so it's not just going to be improving the game. Oops, is there a silent square there? There is. Dang it. Anyways, they're going to be actually making matchmaking that actually has a skill rating and everything like that, and it's going to have full integration with the Blizzard app, which, if you don't know, was Blizzard.net thing, or whatever that they used to be called it. They recently changed the name of it, so if you didn't know about that, there's an extra little piece of news. But yeah, so basically it's going to have all these online features. It's going to work like a modern game, however, it is still going to be the same exact game. And the other thing they're actually doing, it's also kind of cool, is they're making the original free. As in, you can just go and download it. So basically, it's going to be the original StarCraft and Brood War, which I never actually played Brood War. I played the original one because I never actually owned it. I always played it at a friend's house because I didn't have a PC that would run it. And so basically, my experience with the game is maybe a little bit more lackluster than most people's, but I'm still excited for it because I really like old games. And there's a lot of games that get remastered and then they end up doing all these changes that are just not very appealing. So for example, they'll do a game and then they'll make a change to like their balance and stuff like that. But there's certain games like Disgaea that's actually really good, like upgraded version. It's the same exact game. Like none of the gameplay has actually changed. They did add in some elements that they added in later versions of the game, such as like, you know, extra characters and things like that. But they ended up actually keeping the game the same. The game still has all the same bugs in it and everything like that are things that kind of become staple of older games. And that's not necessarily, you know, a good thing in some people's opinions. They're like, oh, well, they should actually, you know, fix all the glitches and stuff like that. That seems like something you should do. And sometimes that is the case. Sometimes there's game-breaking bugs and stuff like that you're going to want to fix. But I applaud Blizzard for being like, you know what? No, we're not going to like change the gameplay or anything like that. We're not going to change the balance. Yes, they could use it as a chance to like fix up some of their design flaws and stuff like that in the older games. But people love the game for what it is, and people still play it, and that is actually one of Blizzard's reasonings for actually updating the game as well. They said, like, hey, you know, people are still playing the original StarCraft. And so they're like, yeah, you know what? Let's do it. Let's just go ahead and give them an upgraded version that runs better and looks better, but it's still the same exact game that they're enjoying, because that's why people are still playing it. They're playing it because it is the original game that they are enjoying. And so, you know, changing it would obviously ruin that experience. So what other types of changes are they doing? We don't necessarily know if there's going to be like any technical problems or anything like that. There is a chance with these sort of upgrades all the time to where it's like, oh, well, they could end up doing this one thing, but then it could end up leading to this one thing end up breaking and stuff like that. So we don't know if the game is actually going to have like, you know, any performance issues or anything like that, which is something that can happen. There are cases in the world to where basically they've released a remake of the game and then ends up having a bunch of bugs. This is the game in the background, Disgaea. When it originally released, it had a ton of issues on PC for the fact that basically there was a lot of stuff that didn't work. Why? Oh, he's on an invincibility block. Sorry, I'm trying to play a tactics game while talking in the background, which is not the best idea ever, so I apologize for that. But it is a remastered game, and it's one that they ended up doing really well because they didn't change the gameplay. Now, are people actually going to be like jumping on this bandwagon? Because while the original one is actually going to be released for free, and so you're going to be able to download Brood War and everything like that, and you're going to be able to play it just like you would normally, are they going to be, you know, kind of making this a draw for more people to end up purchasing in the future? And do you think this is actually going to, you know, add in sort of a, I guess, resurgence of StarCraft? Probably not. The fact of, StarCraft, the original, is basically they've already had modders remake the entire game in the StarCraft 2 engine and everything like that with the modding tools. And so basically, if somebody wasn't already playing it, then I don't think they're going to be able to like jump on it and be like, oh my god, this is so exciting and stuff like that, because there's already ways to play an upgraded version. And the original still works. People are still able to play the original game and have no problems with it. So there's not necessarily anything special about it. It's just the fact that Blizzard is actually taking a very interesting route about it to where they're actually like being positive about it. I'm going to turn on the square slot so I can see where I can actually go. Is there no invincibilities? There's an invincibility. I should not have played a tactics game in the background. But yeah, I think this is really cool, and I might give it a shot. I don't necessarily know. I'm not a big Blizzard fan, to be 100% honest, but I do remember those classic games. I remember Warcraft and Starcraft. I liked Warcraft more because I'm more into fantasy. But at the same time, like, this is exciting just for the simple fact that they are updating an old game. Now, Blizzard did say that this isn't saying that they're going to be like going back and updating all their old games and everything like that, but it is sort of a sign of, if you show them what you want, then basically they could end up having situations to where, yeah, they could end up updating your old favorite game, and then you could end up seeing it being rather fantastic in a new 4K resolution and everything like that, which I'm very questionable about how it's going to be 4K, because I've seen the screenshots, and the screenshots they have available are only up to 1080, and so I don't know if they're actually going to make it so it's like, 4K. I think they're just talking about 4K support. I'm not 100% sure on that, though, because we don't actually have the game yet, but it should be releasing soon, and that seems really, really exciting. So obviously, give your thoughts and everything like that. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this one. And what do you guys think of it? Did you guys ever play StarCraft? I played the original StarCraft at a friend's house and everything like that. We played it for quite a while, actually, and it was really, really fun. And it was one of those games to where it actually introduced me to the whole MOBA genre as well when he was playing Warcraft, because it was like, oh, this Warcraft thing is really, really cool. It was really interesting and stuff like that. So I feel like it's a major staple point, because Blizzard is such a huge company now. It's easy to forget to where they came from. And they actually came from, hey, we're going to make some RTS games. And there was a few games before then and stuff like that. I'm not going to go into the Blizzard history in my outro, but there you go. I don't know. It's just really interesting. And I really like seeing these older games getting updated. I think it's really, really exciting to see that sort of thing. And maybe this will end up pushing more companies to do the same thing, because there's a lot of older games I really, really want to see. When Disgaea ended up coming out on PC, I'm like, oh god, this is one of my favorite old games of all time, because it's a fantastic game. And I really, really like it. I also have a review of it if you want to check that out. But yeah, I'm really happy to see that Blizzard is willing to update an old game without actually changing it balance-wise. And I hope that other developers end up following that chain as well, because it would be fantastic just to not necessarily have older games, but have them be playable in modern resolutions with modern matchmaking and everything like that. It's going to be fantastic. So, yeah. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.